So here we go. Trevor Louise nailed it. Yeah, what was happening in 2019? Before all this pandemic nonsense, massive protests. So let me point that out to you. So if you just do a little bit of Googling, protests that rocked the world in 2019, there were massive protests. And I pointed this out many, many times in my earlier videos going across the world. There were massive protests across the globe. And we cannot forget those. There were massive protests across the globe taking place. So let's go to some of them. So let's go here. Let me go back to here. Let me bring this over here 1 second. Just want to make sure everything's being shown here. So if you look at these, massive protests were taking place all over the globe, all over the globe. And let me make this window bigger. And I want to walk you through that because we tend to forget what was actually taking place all over the globe. What was taking place? Let's begin right here. In Bolivia, which they're talking about polarization, there was massive protests prior to 2020. People were out on the streets, really upset with all the government corruption that was taking place, the economic crisis in Bolivia. Again, look at that, 10/11/2019, before the quote-unquote pandemic, massive protests. This was an article that came out in the world about the protests at ROCKED 2019. Here in Bolivia, again, I want to show you these pictures because they're real. That's Bolivia, as I mentioned. There is Iran, right? Again, all in 2019. Haiti, there is Puerto Rico, millions out on the streets. France, millions out on the streets, tens of thousands in Venezuela, Hong Kong, millions out on the streets, Chile, again, people fighting for the basic wages. Again, you can look at these groups, it's massive. Lebanon, again, I want you to see these pictures again. And that's what occurred in the world in 2019. And suddenly this pandemic comes and we suppress all those movements. And so what the elites did, in my opinion, is they used the pandemic to regroup because they knew the economic conditions are horrible. They've created an environment where they've just, Obama printed $4.3 trillion. Trump printed $6.9 trillion. All that money, this is what's called modern monetary theory. The idea is, oh, we know monopoly capitalism, imperialism is all effed up. So how do we save it? We're just going to print money. All that money didn't even go to the masses for infrastructure. It went to the banks, and the banks invested it in the stock market. And now they're suffering because there's no real economic basis to back up the stock market. And then you have idiots like Elon Musk, right, out there talking about it though he cares for free speech. And I'll do a whole expose on him. He doesn't really care about free speech. He talked about free speech because he wanted to sell more Teslas. He wanted to bring more right-wing people to buy Teslas. Teslas were mainly being bought by the liberal left. And he got people to get interested in Teslas. But at the same time, he never wanted to discuss that the government is the one that is in collusion with big tech. Why? Because his entire organization, be it SpaceX, be it Tesla, be it his solar companies, are all built on government subsidies. So he's a complete bullshitter. I agree with Trump on that, but Trump is also a bullshitter.